Jahnavi. I'm one of the co-founders of Ediso. At Ediso, we're building a learning platform where AI handles the structured learning paths for learners, and experienced professionals step in at high impact moments when learners are stuck and need a real conversation. Today, I'm speaking with Megan, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation because we're going to be talking about navigating cross functional relationships and performing well in an AI world. So, Megan, welcome. Thank you for taking this time. Um, so, to get started, you had this really interesting journey of 20 plus years across product, solutions, consulting, mainly in health tech, and now you're also looking at coaching. So, one thing that has been very clear in our conversations is about how passionate you've been about advocating about people or building relationships in work. So, what made you realize that that has the highest impact?
Denai, thanks for having me. The reason why I think that people and relationships are so important in creating a product is because you're a team. And oftentimes, especially in this world where we iterate so much, we're never going to be perfect. But what needs to jive is the team failing together, getting up together, and keep moving together in sync to create a product. So having those relationships is going to help propel your product forward, and help you succeed in the long run, because it's going to take a lot of iterations to get to where we need to go to.
Yeah, I love how you talk about like perfecting this portion because there's a lot of moving parts. So, given everything that you've seen in your career, where do most professionals or what do most professionals get wrong about leading teams and building relationships?
I think a lot of folks focus on the delivery itself, like getting it right. And sometimes to get it right, there's a lot of conflict that, you want to be the right one versus, person A might want to do this A that's right, person B wants to do B that's right. But I don't really think it's about getting it right, but getting it right together. Because again, like you have to understand, like we have to work as a team to figure out what is good for our customers and then how to iterate after that. How do you get better after that? So again, moving as a unit as opposed to moving separately to get things right, moving as a unit to get things right.
Okay. Yeah, I love about the moving as a unit, and it makes me think about one of the things that you've mentioned in our past discussions about organizational misalignment. And when a young professional thinks about that, we often think about that's a leadership term. Do you think that an entry level or a junior product professional, or for that matter, junior team member, has any control over that misalignment or shifting that team dynamics so that the goals can be reached?
Absolutely. I think, in terms of alignment, a lot of it is listening to people, listening to your business customers and what they want, listening to your product marketing team. Perhaps they've done some research, listening to your engineering teams, what can or can't be done from a feasibilities perspective, listening to your PMO as, what timelines are feasible. So really listening to all the different pieces of that puzzle and then finding all the common points. I don't think that has anything to do with, your level. It's a skill that you need to learn and a muscle that you need to keep exercising to listen to everybody and then see all the dots and to connect them.
Okay. And as we're building Ediso, we're focusing on areas that cannot be really perfected through a course. So, and this is one of those areas like listening skills or building relationships. What would you recommend, or how would you approach coaching somebody, teaching somebody to hone those skills?
A lot of it We were actually thinking about this. How do you learn this? You really have to do it. You have to do it, and you have to fail a few times and learn from your mistakes. And as a coach, from a coaching perspective, I won't be telling you what to do, but instead teasing out what you already know based on your intuition so you can learn yourself. Part of the learning is falling flat on your face a little bit, right? And learning from that and getting back up with your team, not just by yourself. And then just learning that through experience. Knowing certain signs to look out for. There are certain flags that you can look out for. And so we can teach a lot of things, but it doesn't matter what we teach, you have to experience it for
Mhm.
yourself. And then having a coach to guide you through some of those experiences.
Yeah, that is so true. And um, so you talked about knowing those signs of whether it's misalignment or knowing those signs of something not being as ideal. What, in a day-to-day work environment, what does it actually look like? Like, how do you even know that there's a misalignment within the team?
It depends on where you sit, right? If you're sitting from a product manager's lens, you can tell when, you know, ideas are brought forth, but yet there's a lot of head nodding. We call it the head nod, where people agree with you, and then right afterwards they don't agree with you. So you go into a meeting thinking everybody agrees and you're all going to be set to do whatever you need to do. And then coming up, and all of a sudden, no, actually, no, that's not what we wanted to do. So there's a misalignment. Sometimes it's like a miscommunication, but you can sense that it's not exactly what people say is not what people do. And that takes a
Mhm,
little bit of reading. So it's hard for AI to do, right? But as a experienced product manager, you would be able to pick up those signs. So from a product manager's perspective, that's one of the signs. From a leader's perspective, a product leader, one of the clearest signs I think of misalignment is when you're trying to tell somebody, like, here's our vision, here's what we're going to do. And you get a lot of head nodding. So this is actually
mhm,
something I noticed. And it's a clear sign when there's a lot of head nodding and you have a very, very smart team, which a lot of product managers are very, very smart. If
mhm.
they just nod their head, no, that means you're way off base. Like, you think they're agreeing with you, they're not agreeing with you. They are thinking you are way off base. And so as a product leader, that's a clear sign that something's a bit off.
Okay, yeah, I don't think I've had any meetings where everyone had nodded, but I think when I was starting out, I was always looking for that head nodding because I didn't know that head nodding was another side of things. Like that's not where you want to go. You want people
Right,
to ask you questions. You want people
right.
to disagree with you, in a constructive way, obviously. But that's another skill that I think is is difficult in the beginning, letting people to disagree with you and then solving those together. So, getting back to about navigating those dynamics, um, we in usually in technical teams, whether it's product managers or engineers or any kind of leaders, people are usually technically very strong, very smart. They know their goals, but sometimes the issue could be struggling to lead. So for those kind of um, challenges, where do you even start?
Well, I think part of it is to anticipate certain questions, right? And how do you anticipate those questions is if you're going in a meeting to trying to get buy-in for consensus to move on a specific strategy, you really have to know all the different players in the room and understand how each wants to be supported. So a CFO is going to be, I'm sure something like cost cutting, right? That's
Mhm,
what's going to get their buy-in. Another person, the CEO, could be customer growth, right? Whatever it may be, going into a meeting and reading and understanding what's important to that person and how your strategy is going to help improve their metrics or their bottom line. And ultimately, from a healthcare perspective, how's it going to improve patient care, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're really doing. So really understanding and preparing and anticipating for each of those players and the stakeholders that you're trying to obtain buy-in from, what do they need? And ultimately, how is
Mhm.
this going to help the patient?
So this was really valuable, very insightful conversation, but I want to be respectful of your time. So one last question. What would you tell a professional who wants to stay ahead in an AI world?
One of the things that AI is enabling, we know that AI is here to stay, and it's such a great enabler to help propel us forward. But one thing we need to remember is that we need to be more human. We can't go backwards because a lot of times when we have AI, things are going so fast, we forget the human aspect of even in our coding. Like we need to make sure things aren't biased when we're coding, right? So really putting our own critical thinking into how we create the product. How is this going to affect the human? How is this going to, what I do, how does that impact my teams moving forward? And how do I help elevate my own team members, right? And making sure there's alignment amongst the teams. And pretty soon we're going to be working alongside agents. So how do we make sure that we integrate humans and the AI workforce together to move our product forward?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've read about I've been seeing a lot of conversation on LinkedIn and other platforms about AI agents talking to each other. While I'm not very concerned about the agent talking to another agent, I think I'll be more concerned about talking to an agent itself and losing out that human element that you were mentioning about. Anyway, thank you so much, Megan. This was really insightful, and thank you everyone for watching this.